This is a video entitled "We May Not Be Rich in Money, but We Are Rich in Love." Today I am going to be opening up about a memory that I have of my past when it came to Christmas time. And I'm going to be talking about a situation that involved my mother, my sister, and myself. In order to truly appreciate this situation, I need to let you know that when I was 7 years of age, my mother and father divorced. At the time, obviously, I was a child. How could I, begin to process what divorce is, let alone what the heck was going on? As an adult, I can definitely compartmentalize and realize that my mother, who I affectionately referred to as Mama Francie, and my father just were not good for each other. So, it makes sense that they did. Because they divorced, life at Christmas time became really tough. Part of the custody arrangement was that both parents got to see myself and my sister on Christmas Day. What this involved for the first couple of years was my sister and I waking up really early on Christmas morning, quickly rushing to unwrap presents, wolfing down breakfast, quickly showering and getting dressed so that we were ready by the time our father came along to pick us up for his custody time. By the time we got back home to Mama Francie's house, my sister and I were both exhausted. So the Christmas time that we spent with Mama Francie basically amounted to 2 hours, and that was all. Fortunately, to end this part of the backstory before I get to the main story, my mother and father came to a wonderful agreement in the third year of the divorce, which was that my sister and I would be with Mama Francie on Christmas Day, and my sister and I would be with our father the following day, which in Australia is a nationally recognised holiday called Boxing Day. You can certainly feel free to look up Boxing Day if you've never heard of it before, but basically it goes back to ye olden days where boxes and parcels were created to donate to the poor. So rather than looking at it like a boxing match, it was actual boxes that were filled with things to give to the poor. So the great thing here in Australia is that not only is Christmas Day recognised as a public holiday, which it is, I believe, in every English-speaking country, correct me if I'm wrong, but in Australia we have two public holidays that fall one day after the other. And recently, just quickly on that, Christmas Day was scheduled to be on the weekend, and so when that does happen, if Christmas Day and Boxing Day fall on Saturday and Sunday, then that is recognised as it's the weekend, so that's not fair. So they recognise the public holidays on the Monday and the Tuesday. So sometimes we can have 4 days off to celebrate Christmas. Another thing you should know about me is that Christmas is everything to me and always has been. I understand that it's more politically correct these days to say happy holidays, and I do appreciate anyone who says happy holidays to me as opposed to Merry Christmas, but I've just become so used to saying Merry Christmas. This does not come from any sort of a religious standpoint. It's just I've always grown up saying Merry Christmas, and I never felt the need to change what I've been saying purely because Christmas may refer to Christ. Now, again, I'm not entering into religion with this discussion today. I honestly don't even know where I stand with religion. I'm open to anything and everything, quite frankly. So when I say Merry Christmas, I'm not saying that from a religious standpoint. I'm not trying to, offend anyone. I love Christmas time, and so I'm always going to call it Christmas. So anyway, that in mind, Christmas time is my favorite time of the year. I love the holiday spirit. I love the mood that it can put people in, despite the fact that for those overseas, you may not know this, or if you do, you may not appreciate it. Down under in Australia, Christmas is actually in summer and not in winter. So yeah, it can be extremely hot at Christmas time. Like, it can be 30, 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but yeah, you can look that up. So it can be really, really hot on Christmas Day. But still, the lead up to it is really beautiful. Listening to carols and seeing houses that are decorated and things like that. You know, it's the Christmas spirit. I love it so much. And again, it's not a religious thing. It's just the mood and the atmosphere that surrounds the month of December compared to any other month of the year. So now, moving back to time that my sister and I were having with Mama Francie. After the divorce, my mother was not well off. Now, that's not to say that my mother's parents weren't. They had built a pretty good life for themselves. I wouldn't say that they were extremely rich, but my mother's parents were probably middle class by the time I was born. But that didn't really factor into the situation that we had, because my mother, Mama Francie, is a very independent person, and so when she was mostly single-handedly raising myself and my sister, she wanted to do it herself. She very much reminds me in a way of Lorelei Gilmore. Not that my mum and my grandmother had that Lorelei-Emily relationship to a T, but it was more like, I don't want to take money or anything from them. I want to build up my life with my kids. So we didn't have a lot of money, and as a child, it is really hard to comprehend a lot of things. Now, another quick backstory to help you to appreciate things as we move forward. When I was first enrolled in primary school, you may know this as elementary school in America. We call it primary school in Australia. When I was first enrolled in primary school, I went to a school that, by all opinions, my mother's, my father's, the teachers as well at the school, by all opinions, it was not the school for me because I was being held back. Now, I don't say this to put myself on a pedestal. I'm just explaining my situation because it leads to a point that I'm going to make. So when I was at this school, to give you one example, they would give you, little worksheets that you do, in elementary school. I'm sure it's the same in elementary school as primary school. It's like, here is a task that you need to do, and you have this amount of time to get that done. So let's say I had half an hour to complete a worksheet. I might complete that worksheet in 10 minutes. I would then hand the worksheet to my teacher, who would then say to me, okay, now just go back to your desk and sit there while everyone else finishes what they're doing. I really appreciate that my mother made a stand and said, okay, we're not going to have this keep going. We're going to transfer it to another school where if you finish your worksheet in 10 minutes and there's still 20 minutes left, they'll give you something else to do to, hone any gifts I might have. And I am so thankful to my mother for doing that. It is important for you to understand that the first primary school I went to was in a low socioeconomic area, and it was the closest primary school to my home. When I transferred schools, I went to a school that was in a significantly higher socioeconomic area, where everyone in my class had the latest this, that, the other, whatever was in at the time. Not to show my age, but one of the things that was in at the time when I was at primary school was marbles, and so, they were a commodity. I mean, if you're my age, you may have experienced the same thing, but marbles were huge, depending upon what marbles you had, and they were so valuable, and they could be traded for different things, probably, I think maybe in America you would have the whole trading card experience as well, but yeah, marbles was certainly like this commodity. But yeah, they would have all these marbles. They would have, what do you call them in the States? Like fanny packs? Yeah, we call them something different here. But yeah, they would have fanny packs filled to the brim with all these amazing marbles and stuff like that. But they're also, one thing that I will mention that I appreciate over here in Australia, every single primary school has the rule, whether it's public or private, has the rule that you wear a school uniform. I really, really appreciated that, because going to this primary school with a higher socioeconomic status, had we not been assigned to wear uniform, the discrepancies and differences between the finances of the households of my fellow students compared to myself would have been much more obvious. But because we were all wearing one uniform, it wasn't as obvious. But of course, you know, my classmates would talk about this, that, and the other things that they had received that were in things at the time. And I would ask my mother, and my mother would say whatever she could to pacify me, you know, not right now, maybe later, whatever. And then one day, she turned around and had a frank and honest discussion with me. And I really, really appreciate many things about Mama Francie, you know, as an adult. And one of the things I really appreciate about her is the fact that she would take time to sit down with me. Knew that, and again, I don't say this to put myself on a pedestal, but I'm just making a neutral point. She knew that I was intelligent enough, even though I was a child, to sit me down and have a frank, intelligent, logical discussion with me. And so she told me very early on, look, the fact of the matter is I'm a single mother. I don't have a lot of money. And because of the fact that I don't, as much as I really want to give you all the things that you want, I just can't. I learnt the saying, suffice it to say, you can't squeeze blood from a stone very early on in life. And I accepted it very quickly. One of the reasons I accepted it was owing to a saying that we had in the household, which is the title of this video. We may not be rich financially, or we may not be rich with money, but we are rich in love. And that was definitely the case. There was a whole lot of love that happened in the family with Mama Francie, myself, and my sister. We learnt, for example, things like gratitude from a very early age. And I don't mean necessarily that we learnt gratitude because of the fact that we weren't well off financially. It was more my mother actually went out of her way to try and teach us to think of things that we were grateful for all the time, and you know, things to that degree. Christmas time, once again, was always a very special time for me. And another thing that I very much appreciated about Mama Francie is the fact that we may not have been well off financially, but she still knew she knew these amazing life hacks, I guess is what they're called these days, to make it seem like, you know, we had everything we needed to have a good time. And I really, really appreciate that. There is a line in the very first Harry Potter movie, and I'm not talking about Harry Potter here, I'm just making the point there's a quote in the first Harry Potter movie, whether you're American or Australian, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, either way, there's a line right at the beginning of the movie made by Harry's cousin Dudley. It is his birthday. Dudley walks into the kitchen to see mountains of presents. I remember watching this movie at the cinemas. I'd read all the Harry Potter books before watching this first one, but I remember looking at all these presents going, oh my goodness, how many gifts does he have? Like, this is way too much. And Dudley's reaction was to look disappointed, then look concerned, and then say the quote, and I kid you not, how many are there? And I was shocked, like, how many are there? Anyway, so his father, Vernon Dursley, turns around and says, 36. I counted them myself. Again, I have a massive reaction. 36 gifts for your birthday? You are one lucky kid. And Dudley's reaction to that is 36, but last year I got 37. Oddly enough, his mother, Petunia Dursley, then turns around and says, but you know what we're going to do, Pumpkin? After you open all these, we're going to go out and buy 2 new presents. Won't that be amazing? Like, there are many reasons that I am actually thankful that I grew up in a less, in a not so well-off financially situation in my home, because I'm glad I was never like that as a kid. I can't imagine saying that. But then again, there are things that I've heard people say that I can't ever imagine saying, and I think, you know, experiences from our past can certainly dictate our future. So the idea of saying to anyone, let alone Mama Francie, but anyone, if I get a gift of saying, how many are there? Last year I got more. Just Seems ridiculous to me. But anyway, so because I learned very early on in life that we weren't so well off financially, I was very, very good. I didn't ask for things because logically it made sense. We don't have the money, so why ask? And while sometimes it was hard to hear other children talk about things they had that I didn't have, I lent very heavily into the logical side. I'm very blessed in that I was born to two completely different parents. My father is very logical and leads with his mind. My mother is very emotional and leads with her heart. So I have both within me. And I definitely led with my logical side of, yeah, okay, at the end of the day, we don't have the money. So there's no point in asking. It is what it is. And not with any resentment. It is what it is. It's fine. So whenever I would get anything, I would be extremely thankful. For example, one year for Christmas, my mother purchased me my first ever Yonex brand tennis racket, and that meant the world to me. This racket probably cost about $50, and so to give you an idea of the kind of situation that we were in, the fact that my mother had spent $50 on a tennis racket had blown me away, because I definitely wasn't expecting she was going to spend that much money on me. And my sister, that same year, she got this massive Mickey Mouse plush toy that also would have been about $50. One of those like really, really, really tall ones. And of course, it was huge. Like, oh my goodness, we got these amazing gifts, which was wonderful. We did not expect that. The main reason that I wanted to discuss this with you is because I wanted to discuss a particular year's Christmas. So my sister and I, obviously, we got involved in with the Santa tradition. And obviously, as we all know, you leave your letters for Santa, whether you're posting them or whether you leave them on the coffee table or whatever. You put out the cookies, which we call biscuits in Australia, which I know is hilarious to Americans, because what you call biscuits, we call scones in Australia. And yeah, and what we call biscuits, you call cookies in America. But anyway, it's fine. Language is language. Even though we all speak English, I love that there's different words. But anyway, I am referring to cookies when I say biscuits. So yeah, you put out your biscuits and your milk for Santa. Santa may be lactose intolerant. He wasn't in our house, but he may be. So you put out your lactose intolerant milk. You put out the carrot for Rudolph and all the other reindeer, and all that stuff. And that was all wonderful, and I would enjoy all of the traditions we had leading up to Christmas. Every single year for much longer than I've been alive, there has been this free-to-air TV show called Vision Australia's Carols by Candlelight. And every year on Christmas Eve night, from about, I would say, 7 o'clock in the evening through to round about 11:30 at night, there would be performances at the Sydney Myer Music Bowl, which is a stage somewhere in Melbourne. Famous people, but mostly famous singers, would come out and sing Christmas carols. And I always loved it. And part of our tradition in our house with Mama Francie, but also the majority of Australia, it's very much a tradition, is that you would sit down and watch carols. And even if you got to a point during carols where you'd put the kids to bed, you could, pour yourself a nice glass of wine. I mean, I didn't do this, but you could. You could pour yourself a nice glass of wine and wrap presents while you're watching carols and whatever. But I loved, that we had decorated the house with all the Christmas decorations. My mum, I put out a video a number of years ago. If I can find it, I'll put the link down below, showing some of the things in my mother's new home that she had put up for Christmas. But my mum used to go all out with Christmas decorating. And so I would love watching carols on Christmas Eve night and, have the cookies and milk and carrot for Rudolph and the letter for Santa ready, and be looking at carols, looking at the lights on the tree, the Christmas tree, and, all the Christmas decorations, and feel very Christmas. But of course, I would go to bed, and the logical part of me would think, don't have any expectations for what tomorrow can bring, because we just don't have the money. And so if ever there was going to be a time where I would wake up to no Christmas presents, it would annoy me. I was at least prepared for that. And there were some years where my mother would actually say to myself and my sister, there may not be gifts this year, or you may only get one or two. I'm just letting you know, I'm really sorry, nothing that can be done, but, how heartbreaking that must have been for my mother to have those conversations with her children. Again, another reason why I applaud Mama Francie. And in saying that, I'm also going to put out there any single mother raising a child, two children, more than two children. Actually, not just mother, any single parent. I love the fact that single fathers can raise children these days too. So any single parent, I have absolute respect and admiration for you. Knowing what my mother went through now as an adult when I was a kid. Anyway, so there were certain times when my mother would say, don't expect there to be anything, it's just a tough year. And we would wake up, and of course there would be presents under the tree, and we would be overwhelmed because, yes, there is that part of Santa came, but also it was... we were expecting nothing, but something is there. As opposed to, oh, look at all these gifts, something's under the tree. That's fantastic. One year, and my mother told me this many, many, many years later. She told me this as an adult, and it's something I'll never forget. One year, my mother simply couldn't afford to buy Christmas presents. The bills were piling up. There was work that needed to be done in certain areas around the house that couldn't be avoided. Things happened, things got in the way. School books and things like that, it wasn't going to happen that year. And again, my mother was fortunately very straight up with me and my sister, saying, just so you know, there aren't going to be any gifts under the tree this year. I'm really sorry. And of course, was it, it's fine. Because by then, you're used to being in that situation. The next morning, we woke up and I went to my sister's room. And I said to my sister that particular year, as you know, Mum said there's nothing under the tree. So let's just really enjoy this day. I think that's the best thing we can do for Mum. Mum always had one rule on Christmas Day, which was no fighting. And my sister and I always respected that. Granted, siblings fight all the time. And me and my sister were the same. We're very close now, but, we fought all the time when we were younger. But we both respected the rule of it's Christmas Day. You don't fight. And I think that's one of the things that makes the memory of Christmas Day so great for me, even though this is a sidebar, I still think it's important to mention, is that there were no fights on Christmas Day because we respected that rule. And because of that, Christmas Day was always a good day regardless. But anyway, that particular day, I remember saying to my sister, definitely no fighting, none at all. Just, let's have a great day. Mum deserves this. So do what we can to make it a great day for Mum. Anyway, so we went out into the lounge where the Christmas tree was, the living area, what we called the lounge, and there were presents under the tree, which again blew me and my sister away. Like, what the heck? There are presents under the tree. And, we of course raced into Mum's room. Oh, Mum! We didn't say Santa, we said Father Christmas, but still, same thing. Like, Mum, Father Christmas came, oh my gosh! And Mum's like, oh, did he really? And Mum's coming out to the lounge, and it was wonderful. So anyway, there is more to the story. I'm getting to the point, I promise you. So part of the tradition for Christmas morning that was created very early on is that Mum would make hot chocolate, and prior to Christmas morning, she would make homemade shortbread. So on Christmas morning, we would make hot chocolate, we would have the shortbread, and we'd take it out to the lounge and enjoy the hot chocolate and the shortbread while we were unwrapping presents. And the good thing for our family as well, and I just want to make this point, everyone does things differently, but it wasn't a situation of, kids go nuts, just open up your gifts and enjoy woohoo. No, it was, we very much, once the situation was that Mama Francie had Christmas Day and Dad had Boxing Day, it was very much we take our time. We have the time. Let's take our time. And so one person would be given a gift to start with, and then that person who had that gift would grab the next one for someone else, and it would rotate, and we'd each enjoy the moment of the person unwrapping and appreciating what they'd had, rather than all the gifts being opened in 5-10 minutes. It might take us an hour to get through all of them because we're enjoying the process, which I loved. So in this particular situation, yeah, we were really excited to sit down and see what the heck happened, because Father Christmas came after all, and we weren't expecting that. When I opened up my very first present, it was a notebook. And my reaction to my mother was, "Oh, Mum, thank you so much. I can always do with more paper," because I love, always, even as a kid, I loved writing stories. So, like, I can always do with more paper. Thank you, Mum. My next gift was a set of pens. Not expensive ones, just normal ones. "Mum, thank you, because what do I need to write? I need pens. This is so cool." The next thing I got were some children's scissors. The next gift I got was a sharpener. The next gift I got was a school textbook that I needed. "Thank you, Mum. I need all this. Thank you, thank you, thank you." As an adult, Mum brought up this discussion with me, and she said that was the toughest Christmas for me, but you both seemed to enjoy it. And I said, "Yeah, Mum, we didn't expect anything to be there. There was something there. You taught us gratitude from a very early age and to be thankful for what we had, so we were really happy about that." And she said, "Look, the reason why I did it was because I wanted my children to have something to unwrap on Christmas Day." When my mum told me that, I broke down. I started crying. We were talking on the phone. I started crying. And I just, again, had so much appreciation and love for her. The reason I'm telling you this story is because I want to pass this on to parents as an option. I know that life is hard. I know the struggles of dealing with being in situations where you are not at all well off financially. But there is a difference between, obviously, your child going with or without presents that year. And as my mother put it, and I think she did a very good job in the way she said it, opening something or not opening something on Christmas Day. If my mum had wrapped up 3 apples in different wrapping papers and those were our gifts, we would have at least had something to open. I'm not saying this in saying, "Oh, parents, you must wrap something." My point here that I'm trying to make is, even if you are not well off, there's always something that can be done so that the day can still be enjoyed by children. And so, yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and wrap up a notebook, wrap up some pens. Everything that Mum had gotten us that were the gifts were, I'm sure you've worked it out by now. I worked it out now, but not then, were our school supplies. She literally just wrapped up the school supplies, and she did it so we had something to open. There is always something that can be wrapped up so the kids can have something to unwrap. And I want to pass that on as an option, just in case you hadn't considered that before. Growing up and having learnt gratitude has, from a very early age, has really done me the world of good. And it would take hours upon hours upon hours upon hours of videos to even scratch the surface of how much it's done for me and why I recommend everyone, practice gratitude all the time. But one of the things that really worked with that particular Christmas was having gratitude for what we had, allowed my sister and I to have that Christmas and really, really enjoy what we had received and that we had received it. There are children out there who would open up a pencil sharpener or I don't even know if people use pencil sharpeners anymore, but that shows my age, but you know what I mean, or a pair of children's scissors or color pencils that they need for school, and they would say, "Mum, Dad, what the F is this, and why did you get me that?" Which offends me because of who I am and where I've come from, but anyway, but yeah, in our situation, of course, that didn't happen. And yeah, I just wanted to put it out there. Anyone who feels lost and like there's nothing that they can do this festive season for their children, there's always something. Always, always, always. Just grab something around the house that you know that they love and wrap that up. Wrap it up in newspaper. If you have newspaper lying around the house, at least they have something. I'll let this end here because I'm about to reach the half-hour mark, but if you'd like to discuss this further, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the space below. Do not get me wrong, I really appreciate what my mother did that year, and I really never had an issue with not being well off financially. Sure, there were things that I missed out on at the time that I would have loved to have had, but I always understood why I couldn't. So it's definitely not a video of trying to garner sympathy or anything like that. And honestly, I'm going to say, please don't give me sympathy, because that's not what I'm after. I don't want that. I was fine. But my point is to show the specialness of, in any given situation, anything is possible to make a Christmas day something special for everyone to enjoy. So, yeah. Alright, before I get too emotional, I'm gonna let you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas or happy holidays or whatever it is you call it. And let me know in the comments below a tradition that you like to do during December 25th. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone!